Good evening. I'm Dale Matthews. This is Inside News, and here's Mike Jones. Hello, Mike Jones.
Hey, Dale, I see, are we going to launch a new promotional campaign for Grants Pass tonight? Is that what we're doing?
This story tonight is not just about Grants Pass. That's the theme. But what it's really about, that monitor is bouncing again. I got to fix that one of these days.
Years from now, we'll be talking about it. It'll be such a common thing on the program that it will have its own time slot. You know, it'll. Oh yes,
bouncy monitor. Yeah, but only after the kids have gone to bed. Look, this is not just about Grants Pass. This is about politicians who absolutely refuse to listen to the voters. They just refuse to listen. You know, what is it that we know about this Grants Pass logo? Well, Mike's going to fill us in a little bit about the variations on a theme. Here are the three logos. Tell us a little bit about these, please, Mike.
Well, actually, the center logo is the one that was the prospective logo, or is going to be the logo that they're going to use. And I think I forget how much they've got into this, but it's a sizable amount of money. This and the the attached campaign that goes with it. You know, it's a couple $100,000, isn't it? Somewhere in that department.
It's at least tens of thousands of dollars, if not a couple.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a lot of money, and so there's that, and that's the logo that they come up with. Look how elaborate and fantastic and wonderful that is.
And then,
of course, to its right, you have It's the Climate, GrantsPassWeather.com. That's their logo, and I don't know how much they spent for that,
but it looks somewhat familiar.
Yes, it does look somewhat similar to the one in the middle.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Now, and then you have this one over on the other side, which looks actually more like a classic sort of city/county logo style that you might see like on the side of a car or something like that belonged to the city or county or whatever. And that one, I believe, was done on some logo website by Tony Webb, and it cost her like $2.95 or something like that.
Exactly.
$2.95, just to be clear.
Now this thing can. This thing over my shoulder that you can see here, I don't know why I just heard a dinging, but this thing over my shoulder that you see got a lot of public reaction. They hated it. Yeah. They said, what does Live Rogue mean? And or is it Live Rogue? And why does this look like something that costs less than $3 to make? And why does it look like the weather thing? And who came up with this idea? And who says we need to change everything and all of our letterheads and all of our signs? And just don't do this. This is a really bad idea. It got a roaring response, about as much as the response was to the Grants Pass City Council's plan for a city sales tax. And a waste of money is the way most people put it, and also just boring and stupid. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And so the city council said, well, we totally disagree with you, but the people do speak. And I guess John Bowen, who was the fellow that came up with this plan, and they paid him a lot of money to rebrand Grants Pass City. Again, this is not just about Grants Pass. You'll see in a moment. They spent a lot of money with this guy to come up with this brilliant idea that you could do for $2.95. And they were absolutely convinced that if we don't rebrand Grants Pass, why, think of all the millions we'll miss out on tourist dollars, because people just drive right on by it because they'll say, I don't like that logo, and they'll go on to Medford or maybe Petersburg.
Yes, the logo. That'll be the deciding factor. You know what's so interesting about this, because this dovetails perfectly with the survey that was done last summer or something like that, where they asked people, why do you come here? I came here because I have friends here, or I'm visiting my Aunt Susie here, or whatever. And so you'd have to wonder, first of all, with people that know somebody here, or they're visiting their Aunt Susie, they're not going to be deterred no matter what the logo is, because they're coming here for a specific reason, to visit some people or whatever. Tourists, I think, of the tourists considering coming to Josephine County / Grants Pass for some summer activity, are probably not going to be deterred by a logo that they don't like. And if they are, that percentage has got to be pretty small. So how do we quantify economically the benefit of this new logo versus the cost? The old cost benefit analysis.
I think that's a real good idea, and I'll give you an example. If this logo, if they used all three of them, swiped them from the other two people, and it said on there, instead of Grants Pass, it said sales tax, which was their other brilliant idea, that would send people away. Sales tax city.
Right, sure.
Absolutely. Well, that was their other brilliant idea, these city councilors. Not only were they going to have a city logo and replace a water plant, because you can't get in to inspect the filters, but they were also going to come up with the idea of a sales tax plus the Grants Pass logo. Well, anyway, they got the response very, very strongly from just about everybody. It was in the newspaper. It was in letters to the editor. There were people who said, don't be stupid. We don't like this thing. It's dopey. And so very, very quietly, several months after they acceded to the wishes of the electorate, they reinstated the program.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it today.
You know what? Yeah, when you pay off a friend or bring your friend in and do him a favor, and listen, they obviously they weren't deterred at all in their feelings about the legitimacy of a sales tax by the vote. As a matter of fact, they just spent hours sitting around lamenting how stupid people were. And
they're still calling us stupid. They still call us stupid for not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So why would they think anything different about this? Right.
They're absolutely, totally convinced that they're right and that we're all wrong and that there's something wrong with us for not loving this logo and feeling we should spend tens of thousands of dollars at least, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, on rebranding the city, because that's going to make a big difference. It's such a waste. And also, even if it wasn't such a waste, even if it was free, you're not going to listen to the people at all? No, because we're the chosen ones and we know better? No, you don't. Two of you were appointed,
and they think of this.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, they think of this as their money, I think, and they'll do what they want to do with it, and whoever's the head honcho. Listen, this is why you get results like tonight here. Just a few minutes ago, they've called the results here in New Hampshire, and you've got Bernie Sanders, just cleaning Hillary's clock. And then you have Donald Trump running away with it. These people are counterculture. They're like anything but the people that have been in charge. That's what those results tell me. And we got the same thing. I hope there's an undercurrent of that going on right here in Josephine County. And so we can, clean house and replace it with some other, if not better, people.
Yes, better. What are you talking about? Look, the other thing too is it should be helpful to you that we're watching the city council. They said, "Oh, don't come to these meetings and talk about the county." Okay, we'll come to the meetings and talk about the city. I like that better now. And we're watching what they're doing, and we're watching these little meetings where they don't think anybody's watching. The workshops where no one can. You only come to meetings where you can speak. Oh, no. We're watching the meetings where no public is allowed to speak. You're not listening to us anyway, really. That's why this thing is still back. It's back. I thought we said we didn't like it. Oh, well, yeah, but we do. Oh, really? So now we get a chance to hear what they're saying that you wouldn't know about. And we're going to play back for you some of their latest meeting where John Bowen has come back in and he said, not only are they all working on this again together without you knowing, but he's come back for more money. Well, let's listen to what he has to say.
Today's agenda, the branding cost sharing. This was a request by council to rediscuss the hiring of a branding contractor outside of our tourism contract. And our tourism contractor is here and will answer any questions, but did not plan a separate presentation from the last one. If he has it, I guess, if we want to see some of the things that were on the last presentation, but otherwise I'd open it up to discussion on this. What he's asking for, of course, is at the beginning of the idea of promoting Grants Pass, he said, hey, we need to work on our branding. He came to us as our contractor and offered to fold it into his existing contract as long as the cost didn't go too high and try and handle it in-house. And when we got to the end of that, the council wanted to relook at it and send it back through a process. So John took it on as the branding committee to look at that and decided to ask a professional company that works with other companies in Oregon, not to mention the whole Travel Oregon umbrella.
Now, hold on a second. We said we didn't want them to spend the money, right? We don't want you to rebrand everything. We're okay with it the way that it is. This isn't very important to us. There are other things more important, like law enforcement, okay? And please don't spend money on this stuff, and we hate your ideas. We just hate your ideas. So stop it. So now what they're doing is now they want to add on an additional branding contractor who specializes in rebranding cities that don't want to be rebranded. The citizens don't want. Is that what your specialty is? Rebranding a city that refuses to be rebranded? Don't brand me in the first place? That's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about.
How nice.
And then came to council to ask for some help in funding that because it was maybe more than he first expected, but
it's more than we expected.
I think snag we hit was that we were hoping the contractor would have come in first and asked for that, but now that it's done, I think he's offered to absorb half of that contract.
Now wait a minute. What did he just say? Okay, look. So John Bowen, not only is he working on a project where we've asked the city council to stop working on this project. Oh, okay. And then they quietly start doing it again, right? But John Bowen with Travel Oregon, okay, who's working on figuring out how to get people to come and visit their aunt and what to do about people who have stopped here because they're tired. And when you have friends, they're not regarding any of that. None of that makes any difference to them. They're still going to try to promote tourism, even though the statistics say that's not the way it's working. Then he goes out on his own and he hires a branding contractor. Hey, the city council didn't even know he was doing that. And now he comes back to the city council and he says, by the way, I went and did this. You did? Well, you didn't tell us. This is what you just heard from the mayor. You didn't tell us. Yeah, and I'd like you to pay for at least half of the cost of this thing that you didn't ask me to do and the public hates. Please pay for half the cost.
That's a little different, though. It depends on how you spin that. You know, I mean, because you just heard him saying that, that Mr. Bowen was magnanimous enough to absorb half of the cost. I mean, we should be kissing his feet for that.
But he didn't tell us he was going to do it. So that's independence.
His intentions were good, Dale.
Oh, brother. So they're now going to talk about, not about should he have told them about it, but are they really going to pay the half of the bill that he ran up without consulting with them?
Of course they are. It's not
their money. Contractor.
Yes. It's not their money. You know what? I would like to. I'll go out and contract some stuff, and of
Right.
course, built into that contract is my profit margin, and then I'll sell it to the. I'll say, I was going to do this, and I know I didn't go by you guys, but would you pay me for half of it? And that just happens to cover all of my costs plus a little bit of profit, and and the other half I'll absorb, being the big.
On the top of your new home that I've just built for you, Mr. Jones, I've on my own, as a contractor, I've installed a telescope viewing area. Stand up there and watch. Now, Mr. Jones, I know you're blind. I know you're blind, but I thought that would be nice to have up there. And so I want you to pay for all of it, or at least half of it. Yeah, but I'm blind. Well, yes, I know, and I know I didn't check with you, but I'm the contractor, so you'll just pay up.
Yes. No, this listen. This just sort of firms up the point that I made last night about how anything that government does, the private sector can do better. And part of that, listen, do not discount the profit motive. A lot of people, profit is evil. No, profit isn't evil, because there's one thing that you don't think about a whole lot that profit does. And what profit does is it forces you to be considerate of the costs involved, because if you don't, if you're not thrifty about the job that you're doing, your profit percentage is going to shrink unless you have some sort of a locked-in profit contract. Most people don't. It's the difference between what you quoted and what you can get that job done for. That's what your profit is. And so the bottom line is you're more likely to have, if we were being privately run here, a contractor would say, well, I only have this much money to get this job done. Can I do this? As opposed to this guy, it's like, hey, what's it going to cost us? $300,000? No problem. Yeah, we got that. If you have to bump up a couple $100,000 above that, we got that covered too.
I'm going to add on somebody without even consulting with you. And does this guy ever, John Bowen, does he ever work for anybody but government? I mean, I'm going to assume that he does. Does he usually do this and run up a bill and hire another person and say, hey, I want you to take care of the cost of that? Hey, I never gave you permission to do that. Yeah, well, I did it anyway, so pay up. Really?
Well, I don't know this guy. I don't know that he's evil. I know he's a pretty good negotiator. The terms of the contracts he enters into are pretty good. And I think that he makes, or at least he pays to make a pretty tasty hamburger. But other than that, I don't know this guy. I think, listen, if you've got the cojones to come into the halls of government and pitch them some job, and they buy into it, and you make a fat wad of profit, who's the dumb guy there?
The voters that voted the people in that are allowing this. We didn't even ask for this, and he's going to bill us for it?
Yeah, well,
well, we're the dumb guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
And ask the city for 15,000. So, or 16. Excuse me.
16,000.
So, it's open for quick discussion.
Yeah, quick. Make it quick.
Dan?
Yeah, I wasn't at the meeting that this was really discussed at, but I'll just give kind of an overview of what I'm my own personal thoughts, I guess, on this. First off, it was the citizens when we had the branding, and John, when you did your branding, the original branding thing of Live Oregon, Live Oregon, Love Oregon, whatever it is, Love Grant that. That was not accepted well from the public, and it was actually the citizens that brought that back to us. And then through the citizens, through council, we had to redo it. So I really don't think the public out there understands why council went to a private tourism contract. I really don't think they understand. I think that they see the amount of money that is and just say, all the mind really starts to race because it's a sizable sum of money over 3 years. They all have their ideas how they would have spent that money had they been in your shoes. There was 3 contractors that responded to the RFP, and you were chosen because of what you included in your contract. There was another contractor that did not include everything, and then there was one that was kind of there and kind of not. Yours was the most comprehensive out of the bunch. But I think in order to save the program and give it legs, I hate to tell you this, but you need to take that 16 grand on, and you know what? It is what it is. And I'm willing to move forward, and I'm going to have at this thing. I'm willing, and I hear that I get phone calls and so on and so forth from folks, as we all do, that, we made a mistake up here, and I don't believe that.
No, he doesn't believe that.
In my mind, I don't believe that.
Dennis?
Well, I think what
You wanna say
the whole
something?
issue brought up to me was
Nah.
the accountability, that you've got to make one financial report a year, and it can be 4 months after the year's over.
That's
And
nice.
so I'd like to see more accountability myself, and with those quarterly reports you file that give us tracking numbers, if you could also give us financial figures, like where you're at. Like
Yeah, we're not getting those.
The financial department does, I've spent this much of my budget and I'm through this much of the year, and where that money's going, I'd feel a lot better. I think that's what it brought home to me. It's like John's asking for this much more money, and I like the fact that pros are involved in this thing this time around. But on the other hand, I don't know anything about his finances. I mean, he's asking me for 16,000, and I don't know what he spent and what he spent it on or anything like that. So, and if I have to be accountable to my constituents too, and so if I don't have the figures, I can't be accountable. So that's what it brought home to me. That's no matter how much money we give you, don't give you. It's just brought up the fact that I feel better if those quarterly reports contain financials. So.
Okay, let's see if we got this straight. The guy spent money that didn't authorize. And he's working on a project that we don't want. And he's not telling them, except for once a year, not required to tell them what he's doing. And the report that he has given them doesn't have any details. Other than that, it's a wonderful deal.
Well, you know what? He signed a contract that had certain terms in it. And if it had terms in it that he was only supposed to report once a year, and here's the type of report that I need to give you, and that's what he's giving them, and they're bitching about it. I mean, what's the issue there?
I'm not arguing with John Bowen. He should drive the best deal he can. But who wrote up this contract? Wouldn't it be Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney, the infamous Mark Bartholomew?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think that listen, we can all learn something from Donald Trump, and don't get me wrong, I've mentioned his name twice in this show. I'm not a Trumper, okay? But you can learn something from him in that he understands how to negotiate a deal, and you push hard for what you want, and you push hard to maximize your own profit out of the deal, which there is no incentive for the city to do. You push hard to get these contractors to give you the best deal possible. Now, come on, is that the best you can do? This still looks a little high to me, even if you don't know anything about that. And wait to see what the guy's reaction. It's a psychological game. None of this is done on our behalf in any of these governments anywhere across the entire country, probably.
Well, it certainly is not being done on our behalf when we've already told them we don't want you to do this, and no uncertain terms, don't do this. They're doing
Yeah,
it
well,
anyway. No, they
how
were doing
come
it anyway.
How come they're not telling this guy to go pound sand?
Yes.
What you spent $32,000, without telling us, and you want us to pay you for half of it? Spare me. No
And
way.
you want us to pay you anything at all, if you're not telling us what you're doing? Obviously, he's not telling them what he's doing, is he? This is proof that he's not. It's mathematical proof that he's not telling them what he's doing. And well, Dennis Roller at least mildly objected, like, well, I really feel better. I don't know how you'd react, Mike, and I'd like to think I wouldn't be there taking off my shoe and pounding it on the table. A little historical reference there for you guys. But I mean, really? This is the state of the city council? Yeah, it is the state of the city council. What am I talking about?
Well, if I'm a contractor and I'm standing before the people that I'm working for, and I'm a year into the contract and I know that they're obligated to the contract, and now they want greater accountability terms than are in the contract, what is my motivation for going, well, hey, you know what? I will have some more stuff forthcoming, and we'll make sure that you're satisfied with the accountability. And heck no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to stand there and wait for the guy to be done talking, because that's when I know the concern of the city council ends. As soon as that guy stops talking, he said his piece and it's recorded on camera, which is exactly what he wanted. And now he's done. And they don't care about the city's money. They just don't.
Well, that fellow was Dennis Roller, who used to be editor of the newspaper and was the main reason why we started badcounty.com, because the newspaper wasn't reporting on stuff like this, for example. Not at all. Not really big, important stories, not these smaller things, which is about their background. It goes to their record, Your Honor, okay, because you're the court of public opinion. The next guy that's going to talk will be not Daryl Hannah. No. She's just a bad actor.
Daryl Hannah's going to be here?
No.
Is she going to talk about sustainable building or biodiesel? Or
Ken Hannum, the fellow that insisted angrily afterwards. He said, I voted against the city sales tax because I wanted the tax to be higher. He's running for office, by the way, and so you'll like that. So here is Ken Hannum and his take on this whole thing. Ken?
My question is about this presentation that we were handed this morning. Looking through it and trying to find something in here, I find that
mute your mic, Dale.
First question is have you hired these people? Have they done work, or where are we in that first question?
To answer your question directly, we're about a quarter of the way through. So
a quarter of the way through.
They've been paid partially. They've done first quarter of the work, if you will. So it's a process, and with completion by middle March.
Okay. The one of the first questions that pertain to this document is that.
No. One of the first questions is, were you ever going to tell us they've done the first quarter of the work? We're just now finding out about it because you would like some more money. Were you ever going to tell us, Mr. Bowen? It's taking advantage of the mentally handicapped. I don't like it. That stating it clearly enough? Yeah. It's like Mark Van Holly coming in and trying to take advantage of the county commissioners.
And had we not pushed back on that, they would have bought into that deal too.
Yes. we did push back real hard, and they had a lot of people call him and getting upset with them and say, what the heck do you think you're doing? This guy came in and said that he was changing the contract at the last moment. They didn't have the contract. He sat down with them for the final meeting. And he says, oh, by the way, I'd like to change this contract. They were like, okay, how would you like to change it? Well, in this contract where it says, this is Mark Van Holly, where it says, I'm going to do something, I like the change to, I'm going to think about trying to consider doing something.
Yes.
What? Yeah, instead of delivering, I'd like it to say, I'm going to draw up a plan, which will one of these days be thinking about delivering something. I mean, it was really almost that bad. And they were like, whoa, okay, that sounds reasonable. No, it doesn't.
Yes.
All right, so back to Daryl Hannah here.
Daryl Hannah. All right.
You seem to think they can do this with only one visit to Grants Pass in a 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah.
Daryl hasn't aged well.
This is why we're doing most of the meetings by telecommuting, is to minimize the need, of which, they're working on other projects. So they're in San Francisco one day or Portland or whatnot. So it's a lot of telecommuting and email and file sharing.
Okay, isn't that lovely? So we're going to get, Mike, you can rest assured, we're going to get just as much attention as their client of Portland and their client of San Francisco. And they're going to do it mostly by telecommuting. And then on top of that, they're going to gather all kinds of information by coming here for a couple of days. And this will be well worth $32,000.
Yeah, I'm not buying into the whole thing. I think, listen,
program.
There's nothing wrong with telecommuting in this particular situation. I don't know what all they're doing. What more logos? More,
branding.
You're going to develop a study. You're going to have a little story about the brand and all this kind of stuff. I've never been. I mean, I realize the value of branding, and I realize that logos and the image that you create for yourself. That's why Dutch Brothers is what it is instead of a stupid little coffee stand, which is what it started out to be. They had some sort of thing that made you want to go there, in addition to the coffee, and it was very, very smart. However, I just don't believe that you're gonna have you're gonna be able to create that same sort of thing about Josephine County and or Grants Pass. I just what are we going to be that we aren't now? This is why you don't see little cities all over America breaking out like, wow, that's the place to go. Because it doesn't work. I mean, if people drive into town and they don't see what you've pitched to them, then it's like, wow, what was that? But you can go into Dutch Brothers and they've got, they have, their logo. They've got, everybody's wearing the t-shirts. Everybody has a certain attitude when they're talking to you. All of your favorite drinks and everything are there or whatever. There's a reason why you go there. Well, unless you can who can tell me, why it is that you would want to come here? If you're crazy about rafting or maybe steelhead fishing in the springtime or, salmon fishing, when that season is open, then you already know about the place here.
And what did the logo, the one that they were desperate to replace, what was the logo when you would come into town? What did it have? It had a guy standing there with a rafting paddle and a canoe. Oh, well, we can't have that because look, that's not attracting people. As Mike just said, well, they're attracted by the rafting and the rivers. Oh no, don't put on something that people are attracted to. Put this thing on there. Because they're attracted to a sun setting behind mountains.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what? this reminds me of the economic development dollars we waste. Why don't you instead of throwing a whole bunch of the people's money at branding operations and changing logos and coming up with stories about the county and about the city, why don't you just not spend that kind of money? And pretty soon, from not spending a lot of other monies, you have a bunch of money on hand, and then you can maybe take care of dealing with the water plant with a lesser size bond, or you could just generally down the road not be taking as much of the people's money. Perhaps not have a levy that is so much higher.
Certainly not having a city sales tax, because that's not going to attract people. How about this? How about this slogan? The slogan for Grants Pass. Okay. Visit Grants Pass. Come on by and we'll hand you a $5 bill.
You know what? That would probably work.
Somebody would pay attention. Here, okay, I got a promise for you as a potential, elected official. We have money coming in from the lottery, from the people who think that they're going to win. They're sure they're going to win, you see. And this money comes in, we're supposed to spend it on economic development. Now, I've said many times we could spend this on the sheriff because they say it's an emergency, and because we don't have law enforcement, that's affecting economic development. I'll tell you what would be economic development, and you shoot this down, Mike, because you've never heard this before. Here's what economic development would be. We take all the economic development money, and 2 months after getting elected, we cut every property owner, every taxpayer, we cut them a $50 check and send it to them to develop their own home economics.
Well, I like the idea, providing that that math works out.
Yeah, well, only if the math works out, right? Because we're not going to bankrupt ourselves for this. But yeah, and so hey, there you go, and you've come in and you've lived up to your first economic development promise, in that you're actually helping develop the economics of the local citizenry. The heart's in the right place. Can it be done? It might be $10. It could be, here's your $5 bill. I'm not sure, but that's the first thing you do is invest back in the public, in the voters, and the people.
Yeah, well, at least you'd be giving them back some of their money. Now, they do something similar in the state of Alaska. If you live up there year round, they pay you. And I think it's like $2,500 a year or something like that, which is, what the heck? That's a nice little bonus.
But see, with my plan, you're not leaving it all up to the commissioners to decide what's best for us, or the city council, who goes ahead with the branding project when we've asked them not to. In my plan, what we would be doing is we'd be giving it back out to the people. We say, you spend this the way that you see best. Let's have a prosperous economy. It starts with the citizens.
Yes, of course, and I'm a lesser fan of this handing out money thing, because that's like they're taking it in one side and handing it back to you with the other hand. I'd like it a whole lot better.
In the first place is even better, but if there's nothing you can do about that. Because it goes up to the state on gambling receipts, so that's lovely. And then it comes back to us. Well, if they're going to take it out of your hands and give it back to you, give it back to the people. Okay, I get an even better idea. Okay, so the governor comes marching down here, and they raise our taxes because the vampires have been invited in by the stupid people. As county commissioners are on their way out anyway. They got nothing left to lose. They invite the governor in here. The governor says, well, we're raising your taxes up here. And here's the part that comes to Josephine County. Great. I don't like this solution, but it's better than nothing. When we get that money, we turn it right back to the citizens.
That's probably not going to happen.
No, it would not happen with certain people, but yeah.
I do like that idea better, although, you know what, see, the handing out of money that Alaska does to the citizens, the oil companies pay for that. That's coming straight from them. So that isn't the
Giving
people
it back to you.
that
It's only
Right.
giving it back to you. So, because somebody insisted that we take it away until we can change that law, then we turn around. It's just exactly like the thing that Wally Hicks was telling us about, that the county charter gives you absolutely no protection. It really doesn't give you protection. Okay, so if it says in there you can only take $30,000 as a commissioner, but they insist that they want more, or it says in there you don't get certain things, and the population doesn't have the right to vote on whether you should raise fees or not, which they did have, and then the county went to court to get it reversed. The court doesn't say you have to do it that way. It says you can. Okay, we can. That's lovely. So what you do as a commissioner is you just don't do it. Yeah, but you can. Yeah, but we're not going to. Yeah, but they said it's okay. It's not okay, because that's against the people. So all that you do is, if you're going to get taxed too much and you can't stop that immediately, or if you're going to not get these things done, or people don't have the say, then as a commissioner, you can say, oh, yes, they do. You're actually going to give them money back? Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes. I see that working. It has a certain Bernie Sanders sort of appeal to it as well.
Thanks. But it would be in the Wall Street Journal, I'll tell you that. Poor county, new people get in and actually return money back to the voters who have been charged too much in the first place.
Yeah, I suppose maybe it would. If you'll indulge me reiterating that these economic development plans are all a scam. Show me one that's worked. If they had one that worked really well, we would have heard about it over and over and over again. They would have trumpeted it like crazy. Here's the email address. Write me if you know of one of these economic development schemes that actually has produced economic development, and not their redefined version of economic development, but actual,
What they're going to do, we'll leave it on Mike so that you can see the logo there, the email address. What they're going to do is, at some point, somebody is going to say, oh, look, our biggest success has been the building of that interchange at Exit 62. Why? Look at what a success that was. The only problem was that wasn't necessary to begin with, and ODOT said it wasn't necessary. They said there was a local commissioner, gee, I wonder which one, and a local contractor who were pushing really hard for that. And that's where Simon Harris said, I just can't connect those dots, Mr. Matthews. Yeah, well, of course you can't, because you're the commissioner and your pals are the ones that were the contractors, okay? And now and Sandy Casanelli said, God bless her, she says, why don't you just put up a stop sign if there's some trouble with and they did for a while, and it stopped the problem. There wasn't a problem in the first place, but it stopped that. Well, they built the thing anyway, and now that this deal is there, 16 Cloverleaf, whatever it is, where's the economic development?
Yeah,
it's followed by
it's silly. It's silly. It's amazing. If you look at that exit ramp and that whole bridging system, everything that took place right there, and then you look at the fancy job that happened down there at I think it's Barnett there, that exit in Medford, the tens of millions, perhaps even as much as $100 million went into those projects. And, what was the ultimate benefit? It did the exit. I realize there may have been issues with the other one before, but is this the best way to spend our money? You would never know, because the state is never going to tell you what the numbers are. And you're not going to be able to, they've already decided that the thing was a good idea. You're probably not going to be able to quantify it. And
no, I asked them personally, please tell me why you were calling this a failing intersection, or now a failed intersection. They said, we're not calling it that. You're not. Well, Simon Harris says you are. No, that's wrong. We are not calling it that. There's somebody there locally who's pushing for this project. If you want a problem, look at the Y, at the Y near the Y, the YMCA. That Y is awful. Yeah. Now, but nothing's going to be done about that. But it was done out in Merlin. I mean, we've
Yeah.
got people who live out there, and they said, there's never been a problem out here. What the heck are you talking about? There's hardly enough
Yeah.
traffic as it is. Well, there's no more now. So what's this
Yeah.
for?
That Y is going to get ixnayed. I know that that's in the works because I've been over there, and they're running all kinds of new lines, gas and electric, and that whole area over by Gooseberries, that whole thing is just going to get reconnoitered.
All right. So a little bit more from the champion of all time here, the Grants Pass City Council. Come on,
Shauna?
boys.
Oh, it's on.
She's an appointee.
John, one of the issues I had with it is that when, say, for example, in my household, when we're doing a big project, my husband goes and buys a bunch of stuff for the house. I need those receipts back to know how to account for everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
My problem is that we don't have, maybe the rest of them do. I haven't seen it yet, maybe because I'm new. Any accounting for what's been done so far. Where's our progress? Because I know that's what all of my friends and my neighbors are going to be asking me. What are we getting for the money that's already been spent? So I don't have any idea as to what to tell them. And then another issue I had when I was reading through the lookout information that was given this morning, there's a note in here that says this project is not about creating a new brand advertising campaign, but rather a brand inspiration and style guide.
Mike,
What the hell does that mean?
and style guide. Based on this logo, it's a brand inspiration and style guide.
Yeah, which can be anything you want it to mean. Is what that is. No, I mean, this gal is asking good questions, but again, if I'm a contractor and I've already signed a contract with you that says here's the level of accountability, you ain't getting no receipts from me. Those are my costs. Your cost, I'll give you a receipt. It's here. You pay me this, and I will give you the receipt for that money. That's what you get back. You don't get anything more than that. You're not going to get great itemized accountability from this guy, because if he did that, it would betray all the massive profit that he is going to make from this contract, which I suspect is the real deal.
The people who sign this, one of the prime signers of this, is sitting right next to her. Here we go.
So we're paying $32,000 for an idea or inspiration. I'm not really seeing the value in it.
The terminology is probably what's catching you up. That's what this contract is for. It outlines the scope of work. It outlines a timeline. It outlines some variables, this or that, and it outlines, clear deliverables, and for a lump sum, and then the added cost of any expendables or travel expenses, which is clearly laid out there. So to me, it is outlined in that fashion, but I understand.
No, I mean the contract up until now, not what will be the previous, what has been spent. We're what, 2 years into a
So
contract?
you're not
Like
talking
tourism
about just the branding contract.
Not
You're
just the
talking
branding.
about,
Okay, and that brings up Dennis's
Right.
question. And so again, the contract that I have lays out, this is scope of work, what you're expected to do, and you're supposed to give quarterly and annual reports, and then it went into the financial reports at the annual.
Right.
Mentioned previously, it was a pretty long range, a long day out. City said, hey, why don't we get these financial reports in sooner, which we did. And so within
They changed
2
it.
months or whatever, the annual date. And in that, we did lay out what we spent on all the different items, including administrative costs, my salary and whatnot. And then in that, at the same time, at the same meeting, I also said that under our contract, we basically, and I'm generalizing here with numbers just to make the point that I'm in front of me, but basically we have $100,000 available each year for projects. That might be advertising, buying magazine ads. That might be the hotel channel or this website development or billboards and airport ads, all those things that printing brochures or visitor guides. Basically, at least $100,000 per project. So that's clear as day, and it's outlined in the proposal. The reason I came to you kind of midway after the fact is, and first of all, again, it's not my business style to do that. Just like you said, Dan, I'm totally right there with you. It's like you make a bid, you stick to it. And I'm totally right here today to say that, and I said that right at the very beginning. But I didn't want to get at the end of my annual review and bring you the budget. And then you see, whoa, John, you spent, what would probably be $35,000 or $36,000 by the time we're done with the, expendables and delivered on the branding project. Why didn't you, but you couldn't spend that on advertising, or you couldn't spend that on what somebody might say to you. Why didn't he spend it on this? Yeah. So I'm here today to give you that opportunity to say, what do you want me to do?
Hey, he's there to give us an opportunity, Mike. Come on now.
Okay. I mean, this is just kind of like what I said. He was telling her to begin with that, hey, here's the contract that I signed, and this is what says about that. So you can go pound sand.
And Mike hasn't even seen this video, and he's right on the button.
Oh, listen, I was a general contractor. One of the biggest issues as a contractor that happens is people rewriting the contract verbally when you're halfway through the contract, and you have to go, whoa. We got to sit down. We got to talk about this, because what you just said cost 20 grand, and that can't just be added on to the contract, because we don't do that. Okay. If you're talking about changing something, I'm totally fine with that, because, hey, I'm work either way. And if some people find change orders a pain, and they are kind of a pain, but you do them because, ultimately you're working more, you're going to make more money. A change is inevitably an upsell. So that they're doing that, you don't even have to convince them of. So it's fine, but those are I don't let people change the terms of the contract right in the middle. If I'm building a house for somebody and they go, you need to deliver to me all of the receipts for everything you're buying, I would say that's not the deal we have. I'm building a house for you for this amount. I'm not, I'm not your errand boy on this thing here. And of course you're much more diplomatic when you're talking to a customer. But I don't blame this guy for how he's dealing with this situation. I mean, I'm very, very confident that he has a very, very favorable deal with the city of Grants Pass, just because I know that, they probably don't have a good negotiator amongst all of them put together. So this gal is the best negotiator I've seen on the panel yet.
And she's a brand new appointee, and she's wondering, what the heck's going on here? I have to do this at my home.
Yeah,
let's hear a little bit more from John Bowen and company.
What makes sense to you? Should we pay for part of this? Because again, this is a city branding project, and it has a tourism component, and tourism obviously benefits greatly from it, but the city does too. Economic development benefits from it.
That changes everything.
And so I came to you, and again, I had to make the decision on my own to get it done because of the timeline and to meet our goals for this upcoming year. There wasn't the time to come to you and say, hey, this is the contract and let's go through the normal process. And as the project manager, I did what I felt was right. I picked the right firm for this job. And, but it meant I had to go ahead and commit to it. And like I said, I was more than willing to do it, and I still am today. But I feel like if I didn't bring it to you and give you guys the opportunity to take some ownership in it as well. If I just pay for it and like.
Oh, no, you got to hear this. You got to hear this.
I'm sorry.
He's going to say just a little bit more. I agree with you, but you just have to hear what his rationale is. Listen to this.
Okay.
As well. If I just pay for it and like you say, your constituency doesn't know where this goes, how is it your project as well?
That's the point. Isn't
I-
that
I'm telling you,
amazing?
wow.
That's some kind
Wow.
of chutzpah, buddy.
Yeah, no, that is chutzpah. You know what? See, somebody on there should tell him. You know what? And here, let me just say, him having to commit to it right away and not having the time to contact them and explain. Oh my God! Please, really? You didn't? What they were saying? You know, the sale on this branding project ends tonight. Well,
Right.
you know, the city offices won't be open until the morning. Oh, well, I guess you're out of luck then. You know, that's not how this thing works. And this guy, what a brilliant way of getting them to fork over the money. I'd be willing to bet that the 16,000 covers everything and more. And he just is upselling it to them. He doesn't have to show these people any receipts for anything. That's not the deal they have.
It's like when Dennis Richardson was running, okay, and he was defeated. And he wanted at one time to take some material that's been developed by his campaign manager. I think it was his campaign manager, his main consultant. And he wanted to put it out in a certain format. And his campaign consultant said, I'm not going to allow you to do that. And he said, well, you're disagreeing. No, I'm just not going to allow you to do it. What do you mean by that? He says, well, I own the copyright. And I will not allow you to use the material that I developed in this way. And what this guy is saying is, if you don't buy into this, how is it your project? Because then if he's going to pay for it, it's his project. Isn't that the threat? How would it be your project too? I'm paying for all of it. I did it without even asking you. And so it's my project. That part of it, all the branding. So he wins either way. You see, if they pay for half of it, then they get to have half the say. If they don't pay for any of it, which it doesn't look like they're going to do now, at this point, of course, they could change their mind tomorrow and not tell us. And we're not going to hear anything about it. Then that's his project. So if he decides to do this or do this or do this, Dennis Richardson, he's just going to do whatever he wants to because he owns it then, right? You like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's get my favorite
Awesome.
guy in here to say what he thinks about all this. My favorite guy.
In the business world, what we're experiencing here is called project creep.
Yep, that's what it's called. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
I just had
that's
to
true.
include that.
I agree with him on that.
Right. In both sense of the words. Project Creep. Yeah. I think it's funny, but that's me. So, that's tonight's show.
Yay!
And we determined that we would not go an hour this time, and I'm pretty dang sure that we didn't. I'd like to think that we didn't.
We're slightly under the wire. We were supposed to go 45 minutes, but we know that doesn't happen around here.
We just can't get Mike to shut up about things because he gets all worked up, and then it's impossible to stop him.
That's what the problem is.
Go rogue, go rogue. I live rogue. Go without underwear, whatever the thing is. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that you have a happy tomorrow and a prosperous new year. And
You should have gone out about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that advice. Good night, everybody.